Well, thank you very much. It's a privilege to be here. I'd like to tell you ever so quickly where I think we've been, where we are now, and where we might go in the future. Here's where we were 2 years ago. We had a large surplus, $400 million or so, and all of us were in agreement that we ought to engage in some tax cuts, but there was a disagreement as to what they ought to be. Governor favored income tax reform and removal of sales tax from food. The senators were focused on the income tax. The House was divided. In the end, it came down to a compromise where we redid the income tax. We cut the sales tax on food in half and adjusted the general sales tax. Those who were opposed to adjusting the sales tax on food appreciated the stability of that tax and were reluctant to upset that. If I could have the first slide, I'll just show you. If you look at that graph, on the left shows the sales tax, or the total sales in food over the last year as opposed to 2007. Notwithstanding the downturn in the economy, sales tax on food went up 13.3%. Total all sales were down 4.8%, and without the benefit of food in the equation, they were down 6.5%. Next graph. This shows you total dollars. Food on the left, the lavender and the yellow represents restaurants. Both of them have done fairly well, notwithstanding the downturn in the economy. Fourth quarter 08, that's 8 quarters. Fourth quarter 08 is down just a little bit, though there's a footnote at the bottom which you can't read, but maybe in the small print in your handout you can. We're not sure all of the receipts are in for the fourth quarter of 08, but it shows a great stability in that tax. Next graph. Please. Oh, that's it. This shows the percent that food represents in the total of all sales. At the beginning of 07, food represented 8.2% of the total sales in the state. By the end of the third quarter, given the demise in other areas, it had risen to 11.3%. The fourth quarter, slightly down, but still just barely under 10%. Next slide. This one illustrates sales tax across the board. Starting on the left, on the positive side, food up 13.3%. Retail food stores still up 6.5%. Retail grocery merchandise up 4.8%. Electricity and gas still on the positive side, as are the restaurants. Then you go to the other side, manufacturing, motor vehicles, wholesale, durable goods, furniture, construction, buildings and gardens, all on the downside. Next graph. If we were to consider reinstating the uniform sales tax, here's the approximate income based on, or impact based on income and family size. For a single person at $40,000, about $60 a year. For a family of 5 at $40,000 a year, that's just above the line, $140. So the dollar amounts are not onerous, and if we were to do something in this arena, we would also adopt some form of rebate to protect those of low income, so that we did not injure them while at the same time collecting from those of us who can afford to make this contribution to our system. How big of a deal is it? It would raise about $165 million. That's a significant amount of money. Will we face that? President Waddup said, yes, we're going to be talking in the future about how we meet shortfalls. It becomes a question of how best to do that. I suggest to you, in addition to the stability, one other reason to consider restoring the uniform sales tax is that it simplifies the system. Right now we have a two-tiered system. So you go to the grocery store and they've got to make determinations as to the tax applicable to everything you buy. If you buy a frozen chicken, it's 3%. If you buy a rotisserie cooked chicken, it's 6.5%. A bottled drink is 3%. A fountain drink is 6.5%. There are all these complex rules that increase the cost of doing business and reduce the efficiency of our system. The retail merchants have said to me, we're totally supportive of what you're designing to do, but do not do it piecemeal. Either take it all off or have it all on so we have one uniform rate and do not have the complexity we now have in our existing system. We can't take it all off, in my mind, for this reason. 1.25% funds local government. That is especially critical in rural Utah, where many times we don't sell anything other than food. You take that out of our tax base in most of rural Utah, it's devastating. So we're either going to be stuck with a two-tiered system like we now have, or we're going to go back to a uniform system when we're forced to deal with the revenue side. In 2009, we were bailed out by 60% of our $1 billion shortfall being covered by the federal money. When that's gone, we may have to face what we do for an encore.